Ladies and gentlemen, we have a very special guest today. Our first guest ever on King Moves podcast. Um, his intro from the pulsating backstage rock concerts, lighting up legends like Iron Maiden and Def Leppard, to igniting boardrooms across 6 continents. This man has mastered the art of commanding a stage. He's the founder of Missing Link, South Africa's premier presentation firm, and the author of four game-changing books: Legicide, Boredom Slayer, Here Be Dragons, and now Relentless Relevance, which we'll hear about more today. But Rich Mulholland is not just about presentations, he's about transformation. He turns passive listeners into active participants, challenging leaders to slay the dragons of complacency and embrace the infinite game of relevance. So, King Moose, are you ready to be challenged, inspired, and transformed? Let's give a thunderous welcome to our friend, Rich Mulholland. Welcome, Rich.
Ethan, that was lovely. Thank you so much. It's wonderful to be
Oh,
here.
dude, it's good to have you, dude. Really good to have you.
Sure, Justin.
So, look, listen, this podcast would not exist if it weren't for Rich Mulholland. He is the reason that Justin King and Ethan King know each other. So let's talk a little bit more about that. You have a program that Justin and I came through called Story to Stage. Will you tell us a little bit more about your program?
Yeah, so it's a professional speaking mentorship program. The idea is that getting into the world of professional speaking is difficult, but it doesn't have to be as difficult as you think it is. And it took me a long time to figure out a few things, and those few things could rapidly accelerate the journey of a professional speaker and also help a speaker think and act in a more professional way. And so we wanted to codify that and turn it into a program. The two of you trusted me with your time and money. You joined the program, and I was really excited that this came out of it.
Awesome.
As well as seeing
Yeah,
you both doing so much speaking.
getting there. Trying to do more speaking on my side. Trying to do more speaking.
Yeah, I mean, so just to put this so you understand the timeline here. This was what, 3 years ago when I joined, maybe. So we were going through that COVID transition, and one of the reasons that when I saw the option for Story to Stage that Rich put out there is because I knew that Rich had mastered a global audience. He was an international speaker. Now, I've had lots of speaking coaches and training throughout the years. I'm based in the US, as you all know, and I wanted to expand my global footprint. And especially, Rich has mastered the Zoom presentations. And at the time, we were doing Prezi. But when it comes to virtual, oh my God, it blew my mind what he was doing. And that's the way, the direction that things were going. But even now that we're coming back to more of an in-person environment, I mean, 95% of my talks are in person now. There's still that element of entertainment. Like, you don't, his first book is Boredom Slayer. That says it all. Most speakers just are boring. So, Rich, tell us your background. Now, when I first saw you speak, it was you spoke to the president of. I was the incoming president for an EO chapter, and you did a keynote to all of the presidents. And for those of you who are just listening and you can't see us, Rich Mulholland isn't your typical buttoned up keynote speaker. Uh, he's tattooed up. He's got the sleeves. He's got a t-shirt. I was like, so when I first saw him, I'm like, who is this guy? I mean, just before he even opened his mouth. And then when he opened his mouth, I mean, he is like a thunderstorm. So tell us, I want to hear about Rich, tell us about your background from being a roadie to this image that you have on stage and how you go counter to what we see on normal stages.
Yeah, so the people in the market for boring are spoiled for choice, right? There's always a lot of people that fit the mold and check those boxes. And instead of competing with them, you want to kind of be in a category of your own. So, but the truth was, I also just wanted to be myself. I remember, was that Guadalajara or was that Puerto Rico that you were
No, it
at?
was somewhere in Europe.
Oh, I see. Okay. So I remember when I was doing the one president's meeting in Guadalajara, and it was kind of the first time I'd really thought about this, and I realized that all of them, there was a whole bunch of people from different cultures, different environments, different languages, and I was kind of nervous about connecting with all of them. And I thought it's almost impossible for me to be at one with my audience. What is possible is for them to be at one with me. So in that entire room, I was the best version of me that was there. And so I thought, instead of me trying to be more like them, which is nuts, right? Because you cannot be everything for everyone. You'd then just be staggeringly average. So instead, what I decided to do is to get the room to where I was. And I remember opening up, talking about the fact that I was an EO member and entrepreneur. So that was commonplace. So even if you thought I was different, like, okay, different, but we're connected. We have something in common. And then the next thing I did is it was my son's birthday that unfortunately I had to miss to be at that event. So I got the group to sing happy birthday to my son. So now I'm a father and a family person, and people understood that. Now there's 2 points of connection. And then finally what I did is I said, on the way over, I watched the movie The Hangover. And I said, has anyone seen the film The Hangover? And everybody just smiles and laughs a little bit because they all think of a bit in that film. And I said, great. Well, nothing I can say in the next 45 minutes is going to be any weirder than seeing Mr. What's-His-Name's Willie when he jumped out the boot. And then everybody laughed. And what had happened is I moved the context from don't compare me to a keynote speaker, compare me to an episode of The Hangover. And so often what happens is people who were very, very offended by a speaker would not be offended if they watched the very same speaker in a 3 times more crass in a stand-up comedy club. So it's not the content, it's the context. And so I just realized if I can just change the mindset and context of an audience, then I can get them into my category and I can present from there. And that's just how I've always wanted to play it.
Brilliant.
I love that, but I also want to take a few steps back to the beginning of your speaking career, Rich, because one of the things that I love and respect so much is how you borrowed credibility early on. Because and the reason I want to bring that up, it's for people that are wanting to take more stages. It's one thing to speak about conquering international stages but early on in your speaking career, like it's a reach. Very possible, but it's a reach. So why don't you just speak to us through a little bit about how you borrowed credibility, and a lot of that was from speaking about books in particular.
Yes, basically I did book breakdowns. The first book was, and it's kind of I owned a presentation company. So I'd started Missing Link already when I was 22, but I hadn't delivered a speech, which was kind of crazy. And then it was only when my son was born, that was in 1997, I started Missing Link. And when Callum was born in 2003, so 22 years ago, what had happened is I'd fallen in love with the concept of Purple Cow from Seth Godin. I'd been to his office for the book launch, just me and 20 people. Like, I really, really enjoyed the concept. And I'd come back and I'd coached a local company how to deliver a presentation for their business on the concept. And it was like a really good speech, but it required because it's a speech about being remarkable, it required a remarkable delivery. And I felt that they didn't pull it off. And they did an okay job, but I thought it could be so much more. And about 4 or 5 months later, I was doing a talk for one of the banks. I was doing a conference for one of the banks. And I was just about to write into the strategy the same thing, where I wanted to coach them to deliver this talk. And I thought, no, they're going to mess it up. So instead, I wrote myself in as a speaker. And I remember sitting in the meeting when the client, Eric Brown, Boredom Stairs was actually dedicated to him for this reason. When he was kind of going around the table, he said, okay, now he's looking at the strategy. He said, okay, now, Richard, you're going to present on this. Now, I'd never presented before in my life. And he said, what are you presenting on? And I said, no, I'm presenting on this. And he's like, cool. And then he carried on going around the table. And I was like, okay, whoa. And all I did is I took at the intersection of the concept of a best-selling business book like Purple Cow, but at the intersection of what was going to be relevant to a South African market at that time. And in this particular case, the bank specifically. And they went with it. It went really, really well. I was invited to the group marketing director was in the audience. She invited me back to speak at their marketing conference 2 weeks later. And then the head of the vehicle and asset finance division was rebranding. And they then invited me to do that talk at a roadshow of all the business leaders. And so that's where it kicked off for them. 100% of my business has been word of mouth from stage side leads. And so my next talk was I did Survival's Not Enough, another Seth Godin book. And then a client had tried to book Jim Collins for a talk and he was too expensive. So I said, okay, cool, I'll do Good to Great. And so I started my career doing business books for my view on the key lessons from top business books relative to my market. And the client got what they wanted. They might not have got the big name out there, but they got to land the idea of good to great, or permission marketing, or
Yeah.
Purple Cow. And by the way, I mailed Seth Godin and I said, this is what I wanted to do. We got to know each other quite well by then. And he mailed me back and said, absolutely no problem at all.
I love it, because to take nothing away from obviously your ability as a speaker right from the outset, that is one of the big hurdles to get over, is why would people want to listen to me? And if you can borrow a little bit of credibility from the big name like that to bring in a huge element, make sure that the customer or the client is still getting what they want. I think it's genius, and that's why I wanted to bring it up, is because it's one of the things that really does stick with me.
I don't understand why more speakers don't do it. On Sunday night, we went out to see a band here called Fell Out Boy, Fell Out Boy. And it was a tribute band, and it's a tribute band to Fall Out Boy. And they toured the world. They literally toured, and they were brilliant because it gave me a Fall Out Boy experience that I wanted to have. I saw Fall Out Boy in concert at a big stadium with thousands of people. But I got to have a Fall Out Boy experience in a small dive bar nightclub the other day by this tribute band. And they were just presenting somebody else's content and putting their spin on it. And it was the best time. Like, I definitely preferred Fall Out Boy show to the Fall Out Boy show. And sometimes, if the person just wants a material, like, I think there's a massive opportunity of you doing good to great for, I don't know, real estate companies in the East Coast of the United States. Like, you can do that you can make yourself useful to people, because that's what they want, right? They want the content, and they want it at a price they can afford, in a way that's entertaining, and in a way that would resonate better with their crowd. Now, Jim Collins might not be willing to customize it that much. And if he did, it's going to cost you millions, but you could still land the key ideas. I don't understand why more speakers aren't trying to figure that out up front and be more honest about it.
Yeah. But
But
I don't
one
want
last
to
thing.
Oh, go ahead.
One last thing, Eve. The visual reference that I've got in my mind right now is a beer, an ice cold beer. And bear with me for a second. You'll see where I'm going with this. And we can sell that beer to a million different people. There's also a beer with a twist or a dash of citrus, and we can sell that beer to a million different people as well. So it's almost like becoming the speaker that's the twist or the dash of citrus to the existing beer, and using that to take the stage.
Yeah, I always talk about, you've got to know your intersection. So your category might be, I am a business speaker that speaks about, for example, let's take with Ethan, he speaks about AI, but I deliver it highly up-to-date, practical content that can be used in your business tomorrow. So I'm not talking about conceptual ideas and things like this. I'm literally talking about, you will walk away from my talk and you can transform your business the next day. So what is the, it's not about the category. Being an AI speaker is interesting, but not going to get you booked. But being at the intersection of AI and practical application for entrepreneurs, that's what gets people booked. That's what gets them out the door, and figuring that out. So I think we always have to know what is the twist of lemon. So beer is the category, lemon is the thing that gets you off the shelf, and we've got to know what that lemon is.
100%. But I don't want to glaze over something that Rich said that is, to me, is key. He said he was booked 100% from referrals from the stage. And that was a key takeaway for me, Rich, from your program, from story to stage, is you said stages book stages.
Stages book stages.
Deliver a kick-ass, amazing performance from stage. And that's your marketing. You are your marketing. And that's what's worked for me. That's why I keep getting booked on stages, because when you walk off that stage, I think you were the one who told me about the book, The Referable Speaker, by Michael Port. And I actually had a chance to meet Michael Port recently as well. And he's another amazing gentleman in the world of public speaking. And that concept alone it forced me to change my delivery from the stage, to the point where when I walk off stage, if 3 or 4 people aren't coming to me like, hey, I have this other event that I would love for you to speak at, then I feel like I failed myself. So that's become my new litmus test. And I don't want our audience to miss that, because to me, that was the king move for me at the time. That one minor mindset shift to become referable from the stage and do what you need to do to become more entertaining and study the materials to do that. That would be the king move for me that I'd recommend.
Yeah, I buy that 100% in that, because I was going to say, if you didn't bring up that entertainment word, I was going to bring that up. It's the one thing that the king move I want to put in somebody's head is to move the fact that you're not there because you're intellectual. You're there because you're entertaining. So we've been taught I before E, but it's actually E before I. You're an entertaining speaker that informs. You're not an informative speaker that entertains. And I know this sounds counter-narrative, but the people that lean higher into inform over entertain get booked a whole lot less than people that go the other way. There is a reason they put us at the beginning of an event or at the end of an event or after a lunch slot. And the reason they'll do that is because what they want from you is to bring the audience, out of a hole or leave them on a high. And if what they want is to leave you on an emotional high, sure, with good intellectual information, then you need to be entertaining in your delivery. Now, I'm not saying be vapid and have no content, but you need to understand that you're in the entertainment industry when you're a professional speaker. I wish it wasn't the case. I wish I was considered an academic, but I'm not. I'm an entertainer with some smart thinking, and that's what people hire me for.
That's great. Justin, do you have any final thoughts or a king move for our listeners today?
I think my king move is focus and figure out what your twist of citrus is. And I'm saying that because that's a king move I've got to take. I'm pretty sure about the direction that I'm taking with my speaking, but I haven't quite nailed my twist of citrus. So that's my king move that I need to take myself.
I love it. And Rich will be back on with us. We'll have a little mini series for him because he's such an amazing guy. Rich, what's the best way to find you?
GetRich.af.
GetRich.af. And I know you have a story behind that, and we'll hear about that later, but wow, that's the best domain name.
I think fun domains are cool. Like, our Too Many Robots business is the AI business, too many robots.wtf. I don't understand how more people aren't using the WTF domain. Like, it's the coolest. It's right there. Instead, we're coming up with shitty upfront names to append to .com when you could come up with almost any name you want and get WTF at the end of it. And you're actually answering a question for people. Yeah.
I was today years old when I knew that there was a WTF domain. Wow.
Yep.
That's great.
I want my name.com and search for WTF. Yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
All right. Well, we'll check you out on the next episode. Thanks a lot, Rich.